Hello everyone, my name's Cliff and welcome back to my channel. This is Cliff's Dark Gems. And if you're new here, welcome for the first time. Anyway, today I'm going to be doing the Momento Mori Tag. And this tag was created by David at Polyglot Reading. And I was tagged by Bartles Bookshelf and Alan at Big Hard Books and Classics. Stay tuned. Okay everyone, now the direct translation of this tag, Memento Mori, means remember you must die. Now you would think that it would be kind of easy for me to find books, find literature to do with death, but I actually found this quite tough because I'm pretty sure for the purists out there, this is literature that deals directly with the theme of death. Be it philosophical, be it non-fiction, maybe self-help, dealing with grief. So it's actually quite a tricky tag, because remember I read horror, but I am going to come into that just now. And there are 9 prompts, and so yeah, let's get going. Okay, so the first prompt says, how many books will you be able to read before you die, considering your age and statistical life expectancy? Okay, I'm not going to worry about statistical life expectancy. I'm 53 years old and I just figured I'll be happy to get to 70. But people need to remember, yeah, when your ticket is up, when your time is up, your time is up. We can go at any time. You can kick the bucket at any time. Doesn't matter how, accident, a disease, whatever. When your time is up, it's up. But let's just go with the number 70. Okay, I think that's a good time. So let's go 17 times, and I say I read about 120 books a year, possibly more. So let's go, what is that baby? 17 times 120.
2040.
2040. Okay, that's not a bad number of books. So yeah, that's a decent number of books to read. Prompt number 2 says, how does this number affect your choices of books? Yeah, it doesn't really affect my choice of books. I pick every month what I want to read, and it's going to be always mostly horror, because that's my favorite genre. But obviously I will pick the books that I want to read that stand out for me for that particular month. So yeah, it's not going to affect that. Things might change a little bit. Let's say I knew I had a year left, or even 6 months or something like that. I might start being very, very picky about the books that I choose to read. In fact, I probably won't be, because I'll probably be going off and doing my bucket list, traveling around the world doing things, because I know my time is limited on Earth. But yeah, that's prompt number 2. Okay, the third prompt says, what will happen to your book collection after you have died, or once you have died? Oh, yeah, this is a tough question, eh? Probably go to my wife. Both go, we'll probably go to my family, and they can do with it what they want. They're not really horror readers. You know, I'm hoping it'll go somewhere where it's appreciated, perhaps given to charity. I really don't know. And I think anyway, when you do eventually, Shakespeare says it, shuffle off this mortal coil, you don't really care about your possessions anymore. So that's for whoever's left behind, that's their problem. Prompt number 4, now it's getting interesting. Is there a book that helps you to cope with the disturbing fact of a limiting lifespan? Now I've got 2 here. As I say, when it gets to the actual books, it's kind of difficult. I haven't read a lot of books that I haven't read a lot of literature that deals directly with the theme of death. But there is something, and I'm going to go first of all with the YA option. There's a book that I taught at school called The Bridge to Terabithia. And that book deals very much with coping with loss. We're 2 childhood friends and they really love each other, and they play in the backyard, or play in this forest, and there's tragedy, and it's about dealing with loss, dealing with grief. And yeah, I think it's an excellent YA book. But for the other one, I'm actually going to read a quote quickly. And this is by Clive Barker, who says, "At best, you can hold death at bay. You can pretend it isn't there. But to deny it totally is a sickness." And I think that horror fiction is one of the ways to approach these problems, and perversely perhaps to enjoy a vicarious confrontation with them. And I believe, as Clive Barker says, when you read horror fiction, you are basically reading about monsters, you're reading about demons, you're reading about all these things, about death, about pain, about agony. All these monsters come out, and you are facing them, and you're dealing with them on the page, from a safe space, of course. And I think that is actually a very good way to look at about dealing with death. And death is all over the page in horror fiction. And I actually want to just use this as a second example then. And I'm going to talk about Cold Hard Canyon. I could have spoken about any other book, probably. I'm not going to give a review of this book. I've reviewed it already. But a very interesting thing about this book is that Clive Barker wrote this book when his dad had died. And he was fighting his demons. And it comes across in the book. It's kind of quite emotive, even though it's absolutely debauched. Kind of going back to some of his more grotesque writing. He was kind of fighting his demons in this book, dealing with his dad's death. So yeah, that's Cold Hard Canyon. Okay, number 5 says, which book on the topic of death do you consider the most witty and entertaining? Now, there can only be one that I've read that I absolutely adore, and that is Neil Gaiman's The Graveyard Book. And now this is just, yeah, that's such a beautiful book. It's about a boy who's lost his entire family. They're murdered, and he's basically brought up by the dead, by ghosts and by other creatures in the graveyard. And it's incredibly entertaining, and it actually has some very interesting quotes as well, and I'm just going to read one or two of them to you quickly. I can find them at the back here. "It's like the people who believe they'll be happy." Now, he's actually talking here to his guardian, who happens to be a vampire, who looks after him in the graveyard, this young boy. And he's thinking about people that have committed suicide, that have chosen to go there earlier than they should have. "It's like the people who believe they'll be happy if they go and live somewhere else, but to learn it doesn't work that way. And wherever you go, you take yourself with you." You see what I mean? It's just such interesting little insights into life and death and who we are as people in this book. And it's just wonderful. So do yourselves a favor, read this. And finally, "If you dare nothing, then when the day is when the day is over, nothing is all you will ever have gained." Okay, next one I cannot do. Do you have a specific non-fiction book on the topic of death that you'd like to recommend? Well, war is death, war is hell. In fact, out of everything that man has constructed in terms of ability to kill one another, war machines, I think any kind of topic on war, and I showed a book the other day, I'm not going to get it now, but any book that deals with the subject matter of war, and how basically even going into the history of war, I think deals with the subject of death, because the two are just so closely intertwined. So yeah, that's my answer for that one. Prompt number 7. Humor can be helpful to confront death. Do you have a favorite witty quote on this topic? Yeah, no, I didn't really find any witty quotes, but I found a couple of interesting quotes by Stephen King that I really like. And the one is from Christine. "And if being a kid is about learning how to live, then being a grown-up is about learning how to die." Followed up with, it always comes down to just two choices. Get busy living or get busy dying. And that's taken from Rita Hayworth in The Shawshank Redemption. It was used directly in the movie, and I absolutely love that quote. So get on with your life, get busy living, don't give up. Okay, the 8th prompt is, does this tag make you feel uneasy, or are you quite relaxed about this topic? Yeah, I'm pretty relaxed about this topic. I think it's actually more of a fright for me at my age, and I think my wife would agree as well, to see that those we love, that is more of a fear for me. To see my parents go, or to see other people in my family go, or my friends go. Not really as worried about myself. I'm quite happy, and maybe that's because I read so much horror. Think about it. But yeah, I don't really feel uneasy about this topic at all. Okay, and finally it says tag some people. I'm going to tag 4 channels. Another booktube channel, Secrets Read, Michael Wurtenberg, and Storm Reads. So yeah, anyone else that wants to go for this tag, it's just slightly morbid tag about death, then go for it. Feel free to just go for it. But yeah, that's my answers for today. That's my tag for today. I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you enjoy my content, please give me a thumbs up. Be sure to like and subscribe for further content. Take care of yourselves, keep those pages turning, and cheers.